Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Adam Saucedo. It's great to have you here. I'm doing this lecture on a new product, vCardio, that is being launched tomorrow. It's being launched on Friday. And what I wanted to do in preparation of that is talk to you about vCardio, what it's designed to do, what it does do, what kind of opportunity it represents to us, you and I, the company, and really to the global community. So with that, I'll start. What I'll be using is I'll have some slides, and I may be also using this whiteboard to clarify things. So we're just gonna get started. I'm gonna put the first slide on. This is a picture of Dr. Bala Murali Ambati. He is my partner. He actually, I did my postdoctorate fellowship at the University of Utah at the Department of Ophthalmology under Dr. Ambati, where we focus mainly on the genetics of eye disease and cancer. And so he's a good friend. He's someone I look up to, and he's a very special person. If you can look at some of these qualifiers, he's co-developed the products that we've had as a partnership. We've also co-developed other technologies, but he's part of all that. He's a team. He's a team player, and he's also with us here at the Epic as an educator, and that's, to me, is very exciting. He's remarkable in many ways, but he was the youngest doctor. He is the youngest doctor in history. Real quick, he came from India, and when he was 2, he had some things he needed done medically, and came here. His family brought him here, and he lived in New York City. And he started school like everybody else at the age of 6, but he breezed through elementary school and high school, and started college at the age of 11. He finished his degree in, I think, chemistry and biology, biochemistry, by the age of 14. He had authored some papers and done some other authoring in the medical field during that period of 11 to 13, 14 in college. And then he went to medical school at 14. He finished medical school by 17. This was in the state of New York. And in order for him to be licensed as a physician in the state of New York, actually anywhere in the country, before he was 18, they had to make an exception to the law. So that was a big deal. He was a physician licensed at 17, and he went on from there to do postgraduate training in medicine. He went on and did a fellowship and postgraduate training in ophthalmology and eye surgery. He also went further, got a PhD in genetics, and he also has an MBA. Very accomplished. He's a wonderful guy. He's a great educator, a real great human being, and I'm excited to announce him. He's been voted the #1 surgeon in the world by Ophthalmology magazine, a major periodical. He is truly a global leader in the area of eye surgery and in research, and that research spills into vascular studies, the vessels of the body, and he stands as one of probably the top 2 or 3 people on earth in the area of eye disease, surgery, and its vascular implications. So amazing guy. He's a full professor in molecular genetics, and now he's a science and educator with Epic. That's him. So if you go to the next one, I'm going to show you. This is me. It's an old picture. I've got to get another picture, but there I am. So I co-developed everything with Dr. Ambati. We do our proof of concepts in a university-based laboratory. Everything is based on data. Everything we do, I think we're very different in that way, and I think we bring amazing credentials to the table. I'm a physician. As I told you, I studied after I trained as a physician and did my fellowship in radiology. Years later, I came back and did a genetics fellowship with Dr. Ambati. So I'm a trained geneticist. I was a National Institute of Health scholar and fellow. And now, along with Dr. Ambati, I'm here at Epic to to work with you guys. And now I'm going to get into the meat of this subject, and that's beat cardio, what it can do. Can you go to the next slide, please? Okay, so the world faces a huge challenge, a huge problem. It faces many problems, but one of them, it's a public health crisis, and that is cardiovascular disease. In the United States and in most other industrialized nations, where Western lifestyle accompanies the industrialization with poor diet, typically not great exercise, cardiovascular disease is out of control. It's the #1 killer in many countries, certainly in this country. And more than 600,000 people in this country alone die every year from just from cardiovascular disease. We've been trying to fight it as a global community, as politicians, as researchers, as healthcare providers, as citizens. We've been trying for decades to make an impact on cardiovascular disease. And you know what the result has been? What every medication that's been developed for cardiovascular disease, what every procedure that has been developed for cardiovascular disease, whatever medical device has been developed, all of these innovations has had zero effect on the numbers related to cardiovascular disease. It's worse than ever. So it's a dilemma. It's a public health dilemma. And that is really the focus of what we're trying to do with Beat Cardio. This problem is only getting worse. The numbers are getting worse. And as affluence spreads, as the Western lifestyle progresses around the world, this is just going to get worse. So how do we attack this problem when we've had the brightest politicians, the brightest researchers, the most talented healthcare providers having no impact at all with all the innovation? How do we do it? Let me tell you what I think. Next, please. So, as I said before, there are hundreds of medications that have been developed at a cost of tens of billions of dollars to address cardiovascular disease, to address primary heart disease, to address cerebrovascular disease, to address peripheral vascular disease. There have been whole new surgeries invented to deal with the consequences of cardiovascular disease. Medical devices that pace your heart, that manipulate your physiology. So much has been innovated. So many hundreds of billions of dollars have been spent trying to get some handle on this, and it has had no effect, as I said earlier. So, as I see it, the focus of the problem, there are other outlying issues that come to play, but it's really about the lifestyle in Western industrialized nations. We're a busy, productive group of people, large group of people, and we don't exercise regularly as a group. We eat poorly. A lot of that has to do with what's available to eat. The foods being manufactured and available are subpar. Sometimes it's difficult. It actually is always difficult to find really good food. So if the primary problem or a major part of the problem is nutrition, and we don't have access to good nutrition, that's a big problem. So what do we do? Okay, and I'll tell you, there is a molecule in our bodies. It's called nitric oxide, and I'll call it NO, or I'll call it nitric oxide. But our bodies have an entire system in place that has evolved with human beings to produce high levels of nitric oxide. Okay, let me go to the next slide. Okay, let me give you background on nitric oxide. It's a teeny little molecule. It's just two atoms. There's a nitrogen and an oxygen that come together, and it's that simple molecule, nitric oxide, that I'm talking about. But as simple as it is so important. It has such an incredible effect on not only cardiovascular health, but our general health. When we have high levels of nitric oxide, there's almost a direct corollary to good health. So the goal is to elevate levels of nitric oxide. The problem is, as I stated earlier, we don't have diets that are adequate in the nutritional precursors to stimulate the nitric oxide system sufficiently. So we walk around with chronic low levels of nitric oxide. And this wreaks havoc on our cardiovascular system and our general health. So a lot of work has been done on this. There's been over 80 years of research on the effects of nitric oxide and health, cardiovascular health, and general health. In fact, in I think it was 98, the Nobel Prize was awarded to three researchers, American researchers, who had spent a whole career studying the effect of nitric oxide on cardiovascular health. That is how important it is. It was recognized by the Nobel Committee, and the prize was awarded for their work. Right now, as it stands, all of the research that's been done to date on nitric oxide and cardiovascular health, nitric oxide and general health, is probably one of the largest medical databases in the world. That subject has been so thoroughly examined, studied, that we have unrivaled amounts of information about the relationship between nitric oxide and cardiovascular health. So that's great. That's great. We know there's a strong relationship. And we know that nitric oxide goes hand in hand with cardiovascular health. And about 15 years ago, products started to come on the market that were designed to boost nitric oxide levels. And for what they were doing just that. They were raising nitric oxide levels when they were consumed on a regular basis. I took one of those products for years and had benefits from it. But much more recent research has shown that the way that those products have been designed has severe limitations. The way that all of those products in the market are designed is they're designed to take advantage of just a part of our nitric oxide synthesis system. They use L-arginine, which is an amino acid. A few are using L-citrulline, which is a better choice, but there's some resistance to adopting that. But nevertheless, those products, the current products in the market, use amino acids to stimulate the nitric oxide synthesis. But again, they're severely limited because they're only activating a part of it. Recent research has identified a much bigger system that the body has to produce nitric oxide. The problem is that just like with the system I'm talking about that requires amino acids, you have to supplement because our diets are pretty poor. These products on the market have amino acids, and that's what the body uses to make nitric oxide. But lo and behold, 15 years ago, a whole model for a system was designed, and it requires different nutritional precursors. Typically, we get less than 1/10 of the nutritional precursors we need to activate that other part, to activate the whole system. But if we could do that, the benefits it'd be difficult to overstate how incredibly beneficial it is. So the approach again is to supplement with the nutritional precursors to stimulate the whole body's nitric oxide system, crank up levels of nitric oxide, and drive cardiovascular health. So what are we doing? Why is beat cardio so special? Let's go on to the next